Sunday, July 31. Between Saul and David. Consider the following glimpses into David's life before he became king. What does this tell us about David? Here are excerpts from 1 Samuel 16, verses 6 through 13. So it was, when they came, that Samuel looked at Eliab and said, "Surely the Lord's anointed is before him." But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not look at his appearance or at his physical stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord does not see as man sees, for man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." So Jesse made 7 of his sons pass before Samuel, and Samuel said to Jesse, "The Lord has not chosen these." And Samuel said to Jesse, "Are all the young men here?" Then he said, "There remains yet the youngest, and there he is, keeping the sheep." And Samuel said to Jesse, "Send and bring him." Now David was ruddy with bright eyes and good-looking, and the Lord said, "Arise, anoint him, for this is the one." Here are excerpts from 1 Samuel 17, verses 45 through 47. Then David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword, with a spear, and with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. For the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands." Here is 1 Samuel 24, verses 9 and 10. And David said to Saul, "Why do you listen to the words of men who say, 'Indeed, David seeks your harm'? Look, this day your eyes have seen that the Lord delivered you today into my hand in the cave, and someone urged me to kill you, but my eye spared you. And I said, I will not stretch out my hand against my Lord, for he is the Lord's anointed." And finally, here is 1 Samuel 30, verses 6 through 8. Now David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and his daughters. But David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. Then David said to Abiathar the priest, Ahimelech's son, "Please bring the ephod here to me." And Abiathar brought the ephod to David. So David inquired of the Lord, saying, "Shall I pursue this troop? Shall I overtake them?" And he answered him, "Pursue, for you shall surely overtake them, and without fail recover all." God chose Saul as the first king of Israel because he matched the description the people had requested. But when God chose David to be the next king of Israel, he reminded Samuel that the Lord looks on the heart. David was far from being perfect. In fact, some would argue that David's later moral lapses were more serious than Saul's sins. And yet the Lord rejected Saul but forgave even David's worst mistakes, allowing him to continue being king. What made the difference? Consider now Psalm 32, verses 1 through 5, and Psalm 51, verses 1 through 6. What crucial concept is found in these Psalms of David that is so central to faith? Here's Psalm 32, verses 1 through 5. "Blessed is he whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Blessed is the man to whom the Lord does not impute iniquity, and in whose spirit there is no deceit. When I kept silent, my bones grew old through my groaning all the day long. For day and night your hand was heavy upon me. My vitality was turned into the drought of summer. I acknowledged my sin to you, and my iniquity I have not hidden. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the iniquity of my sin." And here's Psalm 51, verses 1 through 6. "Have mercy upon me, O God, according to your loving kindness, according to the multitude of your tender mercies, blot out my transgressions. Wash me thoroughly from my iniquity, and cleanse me from my sin. For I acknowledge my transgressions, and my sin is always before me. Against you, you only have I sinned, and done this evil in your sight, that you may be found just when you speak, and blameless when you judge. Behold, I was brought forth in iniquity, and in sin my mother conceived me. Behold, you desire truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden part you will make me to know wisdom. God is in the heart business. He not only reads the heart, the center of thought, inner attitudes and motives, but he can touch and change hearts that are open to him. David's heart yielded to the conviction of sin. He repented, and he patiently accepted the consequences of his sin. In contrast, whatever outward confessions he made, it was clear that Saul's heart was not surrendered to the Lord. Ellen White has written, "Yet the Lord, having placed on Saul the responsibility of the kingdom, did not leave him to himself. He caused the Holy Spirit to rest upon Saul to reveal to him his own weakness and his need of divine grace. And had Saul relied upon God, God would have been with him. So long as his will was controlled by the will of God, so long as he yielded to the discipline of his spirit, God could crown his efforts with success. But when Saul chose to act independently of God, the Lord could no longer be his guide and was forced to set him aside." From the book Patriarchs and Prophets, page 636. Ask yourself, how does what goes on inside your heart differ from what people see of you on the outside? What does your answer say to you about yourself?